From the studios of WWAY, it's the CB McGrath Show. The CB McGrath Show is brought to you by your Carolina Ford dealers, Papa John's, Adams Beverage, Harris Teeter, Coastal Beverage, and Reed's Jewelers. And now, here's your host, Mike Vaccaro.
Well, good morning. Welcome, everybody. Mike Vaccaro here alongside the coach, CB McGrath, talking Seahawk basketball here on this blustery Sunday morning in Wilmington. And two games to talk about this week. One at home, first road test for UNCW. We'll talk about that. We'll have a preview of the week ahead as well. The battle for the Capitol coming up in D.C. for UNCW. We'll talk about those games. Also a player profile today on the freshman Jake Boggs. But, Coach, we get started. Longtime rival Campbell University in town on Tuesday. 105th meeting between the Seahawks and the Camels, and this one did not disappoint from a fan's perspective as it goes an extra 5 minutes before a winner was determined.
Yeah, you know, I thought we just kept battling the whole game. Their three-quarter court press just sort of slowed us down. We had some uncharacteristic turnovers. Couldn't get a real comfort level on our offensive end, but we kept battling on the defensive end, got some stops, made some shots, and took the lead. They kept battling back too, and you know, we'd get a 5-7 point lead, they come back. 5-7 point lead, they come back even in overtime. I think we scored the first 7 points overtime, and they still came back and you know, made it a game. And yeah, it was obviously fun for the fans. I still haven't got my voice back from the last couple games, so hopefully by next week I'll get it back. I don't know though.
And this was a game to a lot of key moments, a lot of key plays, and you played your freshmen down the stretch in the end of regulation, and they played really well for you.
Yeah, they did. You know, they've been doing a great job so far, and Shaquem's been banged up a little bit, so he didn't get as many reps throughout the course of the preseason that we would normally want to give him. You know, he can play the 1 and the 2. I'd like to play him and Kai together if I can, but just based on how much he's been able to practice, he hasn't been able to learn all different kinds of sets. So, but he does a great job attacking with the ball. Jake has been aggressive, and Amaje's keeps getting better and better. So I really like our freshmen. You know, I thought they've been playing well all year. You know, we just need our older guys with some college experience to start playing better too.
Well, again, UNCW Campbell University was a big game on a Teal Tuesday in Trask Coliseum. Let's take a look now at our Harris Teeter highlights. Exciting game, a good finish there. 81-76 your final score. You look at the stats, UNCW 52% shooting. And how about this number? You don't see it there, but 22 of 26 from the free throw line. Coach, you guys certainly drove and you made something happen, whether it was scoring the points or going to the stripe in this game.
Yeah, obviously we've been doing a good job of getting fouled early in the season. We haven't shot a great percentage from the free throw line other than that game. So I like us being aggressive. I don't want us just to settle for threes. I think we can get threes, after 2 or 3 more passes, but you don't give the defense a chance to make a mistake. You don't get the paint touches. You don't get the post touches if you just throw it around the perimeter. So, we've been really encouraging trying to drive it, but not attacking 2 or 3 people. And that's been a common mistake when we've turned it over. It's because we've attacked 2 people thinking we could split it or make the play. You just got to get rid of it because you have a teammate open.
Yeah, so the Seahawks did a nice job with that. 13 assists in this game. 5 in double figures, 15 points for Jalen Sims to lead the way, and the Seahawks get the overtime victory early on this season over Campbell University. Well, we'll take a break here. When we get back, we'll look at the first road test for UNCW, a tough one last night against Davidson College. We'll have those highlights coming your way next.
Let's talk about math. Fuel points math. For every $1 you spend at Harris Teeter, you get a fuel point. 100 fuel points equals 10 cents off per gallon. 200 fuel points equals 20 cents off per gallon. 1,000 fuel points equals $1 off per gallon on quality fuel. And if you're shopping at Harris Teeter with your Vic card, your fuel points are already adding up. Check the bottom of your receipt. Harris Teeter Fuel Points, an easy way to save on fuel.
See harristeeter.com for details.
Every time it's been way too long. A Corona gets its line. Every time you're not related, but you're definitely family. Every time you meet from across the party. Every time all of us is all we need. And every time your favorite place is more about who than where. A Corona.
Along the coast of North Carolina lies one of the best universities in the Southeast, the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. UNC Wilmington, giving flight to imagination.
Well, after 3 straight games at home to start the season, the Seahawks went on the road last night. Davidson College, the opponent, and Davidson, a team on the Atlantic 10 pick 2nd preseason poll in that league. And, Coach, you got really the best of them yesterday because they started the season 0-2. They were focused, and they kind of had a big game against you guys, unfortunately.
Yeah, they did. Obviously, it snowballed on us in the second half. We didn't compete the way we needed to, and they started making some shots, and we got a little bit down on ourselves and tried to do too much individually as opposed to playing team basketball. But we knew they were going to be a good team, obviously, going into the year. They had the returning A-10 player of the year, and then Kellen Grady, another great scoring guard. You sort of got to pick your poison. They got a big guy that's really long, and if you let him go one-on-one, he can sometimes do a nice job of being effective, and he was very, very effective in the first half. But if you go down and double him, he's going to get it out, and they're going to find 3-point shooters. And so we tried to double him in the second half. He found 3-point shooters. They made, I think, 9 threes in the second half. And so it was just too much for us. Obviously there's things that we worked on all week in preparation for Davidson, and it just didn't work out the way we wanted to.
Yeah, sometimes it just does not translate into the game, and that was kind of the case yesterday for UNCW. Here's now our regionals highlights. The Seahawks on the road to take on Davidson. And you see there the final score, 87-49 here from Davidson yesterday. The Seahawks struggled to make some shots there in that second half. Bright spot was Jalen Sims, 14 points, 5 of 9 shooting, 3 of 6 from three-point range for him. But Coach, we talked post-game yesterday, the turnover's a little high number as well. As you kind of broke down that tape on the bus ride back, was it forced, unforced, some things that you can clean up here this week, obviously, moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little of both. I mean, I think we forced our own turnovers by attacking two people, like I said. You know, they didn't necessarily force them. They just got to the right spots, and then we made the mistake. We need to stop making the same mistakes game by game. When you start learning from that, and I understand we got, 7 new players, I guess 8 new players with Marty because he hadn't played here at UNCW. But at some point, we got to take from what we're practicing and working on in 5-on-0, 5-on-5, out onto the court in the games, and we just didn't do that at Davidson. Obviously we did struggle offensively. We missed some open looks in the second half. They didn't miss very many looks on their end, and just got out-rebounded. Davidson's not a huge rebounding team, but they just went to the boards more consistently than we did, and we obviously talk about rebound. I know that's one of my concerns, and I thought, a couple games ago we rebounded very well, but the last couple games we have not. And whether we just haven't focused on it enough, or the guys haven't taken to heart that it's going to be very important, just because we had a good rebounding game a couple of the games ago. Yeah,
this was 39-24 the difference in favor of Davidson on the glass in this game. So a tough setback for the Seahawks, who are now 2-2 on this young season, with 3 games coming up this week that we'll talk about a little bit later on. Right now, we'll take a break. On the other side, it's Jake Boggs, our player profile, one of the 3 freshmen who's shown some athletic moves so far this season.
At Papa John's, when it comes to better ingredients, better pizza, we deliver. And now we're delivering extra value, too.
When the Seahawks win, you win. Get 50% off your online order the day after a Seahawks men's or women's victory with code Seahawks.
At Papa John's, when it comes to better ingredients, better pizza, we deliver. And now we're delivering extra value, too.
When the Seahawks win, you win. Get 50% off your online order the day after a Seahawks men's or women's victory with code Seahawks.
Whoa, that's crisp.
Crisp taste, brewed with no corn syrup. Bud Light.
Whoa, that's crisp.
Crisp taste, brewed with no corn syrup. Bud Light.
I buy gift cards to pay for all the music, videos, and TV shows I download. And when I do, I save on fuel. With Harris Teeter Fuel Points, I get 2 times the points for every gift card I buy. Spend $25 and get 50 fuel points. And my points are redeemable at any Harris Teeter Fuel Center or participating BP station. I can save up to $1 per gallon on quality fuel. It's money I'm going to spend anyway. Plus, I save at the pump. Harris Teeter Fuel Points. It's music to my ears.
Along the coast of North Carolina lies one of the best universities in the Southeast, the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. UNC Wilmington, giving flight to imagination.
Well, 4 games into this season, I think the freshmen have really been a bright spot for UNCW right now. One of those guys is Jake Boggs, who we're about to learn more about here, Coach. But again, you've been pleasantly surprised by the way he has played in games, maybe compared to practice, as you mentioned earlier. But he's really having a nice start to his career.
Yeah, he is, and he does a good job in practice. I'm not saying he doesn't, but he's just more aggressive on the offensive end in the games. Attacking the lane, trying to get to the basket, making plays for teammates than he is in practice. Sometimes he sort of settles for jump shots. And obviously, yeah, we're very pleased with our freshmen so far. Obviously, everybody's got to get a lot better. But, Jake sort of was a little under the radar. He broke both his wrists the first game of the summer evaluation period, or it might have been spring evaluation period, by going up to block a shot, got undercut, broke both wrists. So a lot of people didn't get to see Jake and the progress he had made. And so obviously we had seen him throughout his junior year and were impressed with him, thought he could be a good player for us. And, his recruiting never really took off per se because of that injury, and he got back for his senior season, had a good senior season, but we're really happy to have Jake on the team.
Yeah, again, he's made a difference coming off the bench when he's in there. Some good minutes for UNCW. Tanner Barth has more now on the freshman.
UNCW freshman Jake Boggs has had an electric start to his UNCW career. A Carmel Christian graduate has made an instant impact for the Seahawks, averaging nearly 7 points per game in his short college basketball career, and a bond is a big reason why he landed in Wilmington this fall in the first place.
I've had a really good relationship with the coaches. Whenever I came, it felt like home, and I just feel like the coaches made me a priority when they were recruiting me.
And when it comes to his play on the court as a freshman, he isn't worried about putting up career numbers night in, night out. He just wants to do whatever it takes to put another W in the win column.
I think I can just fill in a role. Everybody's going to find their role in the first few games, I feel like, so I think I can hit some open shots, just do what my team needs me to do to win.
Jake is one of 8 new faces on the UNCW men's basketball team this season, and it's always easier when you're not the only new guy.
A lot of new people, a lot of new faces. It's helping out, not being the only new guy, so I think it is helping.
And he says the team's once-in-a-lifetime trip across Italy last summer helped create a bond the Seahawks are showing on the hardwood so far in 2019.
That really brought us a lot closer. It was a trip of a lifetime. We were really fortunate to go on that trip and play a few games and learn about a lot of new stuff. So that was really fun.
The Charlotte, North Carolina native is one of 8 Seahawks averaging at least 5 points per contest, and it's that willingness to share the basketball that he says is special about this year's Seahawks.
I think we just really care about each other. We just want to see each other succeed, and everybody, we want the best for each other, so I think that's going to really help us on the court.
But there's one game where Boggs isn't much of a team player, and that's Fortnite, where he claims his teammates aren't even up for the challenge.
They don't want to do that. They don't even try. They know better than that.
Every time it's been way too long. A Corona gets its line. Every time you're not related, but you're definitely family. Every time you meet from across the party. Every time all of us is all we need. And every time your favorite place is more about who than where. A Corona.
Along the coast of North Carolina lies one of the best universities in the Southeast, the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. UNC Wilmington, giving flight to imagination.
Time now for this week's Play of the Week. It's a couple of plays. Coach is going to like this too because it's defensive plays. One of the freshmen providing us our Plays of the Week. Let's take a look.
Dodd driving in, blocked away. Nelson shot by Dodd. Tonight, Knight drives in, blocked away by Dodd to the Campbell bench. Dodd driving in, blocked away.
So again, Amaje Dodd, some good defense there, Coach. And, sometimes from freshmen it's tough to get him to play defense early on, but not from this guy. He's a little bit undersized, but makes the most of what he's got.
Yeah, you know, he can really jump up in the air, and he's aggressive on both ends, offensively and defensively. You know, he's like a lot of freshmen that were just always bigger and stronger. He didn't have to do much on the defensive end other than stand on the basket and try and block shots. And so now at the college game, they move around so much around the perimeter. He has a lot to learn in terms of screening action, body position, those kinds of things. But he's come a long way in a short time, and I thought he did a really good job in the Davidson game last night. And actually, he was our defensive grade winner. We graded on the way home, and you know, he just sits down and stands and wants to try and defend and wants to make sure that he's in the right spot every single time, and that's important on the defensive end, let alone have an effort.
Yeah, he's undersized, but he's got big body, and he uses that, like you said, to kind of just sit in that stance and not give up much.
Yeah, and he's got big hands too, and he's had a couple other blocks they've called goaltending on, and I thought he's gotten it even on the replays that we see before it hits the backboard. So obviously, if any ball hits the backboard and you go block it, it's an automatic goaltend. And it's hard for refs to see that, but I think both times that they've called goaltending, he's gotten it before it's hit the backboard. So he probably should have a couple more blocks. I want him to keep on trying to get those blocks. The only thing is, if you don't get the block and you go for it, it's hard because nobody's boxing out his man. And so sometimes you give up some offensive rebounds if you don't get the block.
Yeah, it leaves you a little bit vulnerable, but nice defense here from Ajay Don. We go from one freshman to another. This week's Carolina Ford Dealers Player of the Week is Shaquem Phillips. Again, this is a guy coming off the bench, second leading scorer for UNCW, and just gives you a different look at that point guard position.
You know, he is an explosive athlete. He really attacks the lane, and you know, like I said, he had the hamstring injury, so he hasn't been able to get as many reps as we want him to. But he needs to learn. He's different because he's always been able to get to the basket. And in high school, he can go finish every time at the basket. Well, in college, sometimes there's going to be 6'11", 7-foot guys there, so you got to find a way to finish before you get all the way there, or get it to your teammate. And so those are the couple things that he's been struggling with when he gets into the lane and can't finish at the basket, getting an open shot for us.
Shaquem Phillips this week averaged almost a double-figure week, 9.5 points this week, shot the ball really well as well, and he's getting to the free throw line. He's knocking down those shots from the free throw line as well.
Yeah, he made, I think, all but one of his free throws against Campbell, 5 of 6. And before that, he had missed a few early in the season, and you know, sometimes that shakes your confidence a little bit, but he's a confident kid anyway. He really hasn't shot any jump shots yet because he's had the ball in his hands so much, and he tries to attack, but he has worked on that part of his game, expanding his range, because coming from the high school three-point line to the new college three-point line is quite a transition, but he has worked really hard on that.
Well, that space that it creates, too, though, for him to drive the ball has been certainly beneficial to him. Again, our Carolina Ford Dealers Player of the Week this week is the freshman Shaquem Phillips. We'll step aside here. When we get back, we'll preview what's ahead for UNCW. Starting to be a very busy week ahead for the Seahawks. We'll talk about that coming up next.
Whoa, that's crisp.
Crisp taste, brewed with no corn syrup. Bud Light.
Whoa, that's crisp.
Crisp taste, brewed with no corn syrup. Bud Light.
At Papa John's, when it comes to better ingredients, better pizza, we deliver. And now we're delivering extra value too.
When the Seahawks win, you win. Get 50% off your online order the day after a Seahawks men's or women's victory with code Seahawks.
At Papa John's, when it comes to better ingredients, better pizza, we deliver. And now we're delivering extra value too.
When the Seahawks win, you win. Get 50% off your online order the day after a Seahawks men's or women's victory with code Seahawks.
Along the coast of North Carolina lies one of the best universities in the Southeast, the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. UNC Wilmington, giving flight to imagination.
Well, so far the Seahawks with 4 games under their belt. It's been 4 games in 2 weeks. Now it's going to be 3 games this week alone for UNCW coaches. We take a look at the week ahead for the Seahawks, and it starts on Tuesday at home against North Carolina Wesleyan, then Friday versus Cleveland State, Saturday versus FIU, all part of the battle for the Capitol. So let's talk first about the home game. North Carolina Wesleyan coming in here. Of note, you play them. Your first win was against the Battling Bishops here at UNCW, so they're back on the schedule here, and that'll be on Tuesday night in Trask.
Yeah, good memory, Mike. I don't even remember that, but seems like such a long time ago. It hasn't been that long, but yeah, obviously we're back in Trask. It's back home, and we're not doing anything today because we have to have a day off, and so the rest of the week we got to either practice or games. And but we're going to get focused on Wesleyan, but also focused on just how to get better on the court tomorrow at practice in preparation for the Wesleyan game.
So looking at the Battling Bishops, again, that's Tuesday night at 7 o'clock in Trask Coliseum. Then ahead you go to D.C., take on Cleveland State Friday, FIU Saturday, and this game is at the facility where the conference tournament's going to be at later this year. So you kind of get a little sneak peek from that standpoint and kind of see, how things will play out and how you guys will play in that facility.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice just to get in there. Obviously, before the conference tournament, you'll have times just to be able to practice in there, maybe get a little bit of time to shoot around. But depending on when your game falls, sometimes you might only get 20 minutes, sometimes you might get an hour. So to play 2 games against outside competition in the facility that we're going to play the conference tournament in, I think will be great to familiarize ourselves with it. Just the whole scenery. Every situation is different. Like Davidson yesterday, it seemed really dark in the outskirts. I don't remember that 2 years ago when we played, so I don't know if they changed their lighting based on TV stuff or what, but it was just a little different, and so it'd be nice just to get in there. Yeah,
this will be probably the only CA school, I would think, that to play a game in there prior to the conference tournament later on this year.
Yeah, I believe so, because it just opened this year, so they couldn't have played in past years. So, yeah, I think we'll be the only team that has that advantage.
All right, so a 3-game week. Again, it starts at home. Want to see the fans out there Tuesday night, North Carolina Wesleyan in town. That game at 7 o'clock. Coach, best of luck.
Thank you, Mike.
For CB McGrath, our entire crew, we appreciate you watching us here this morning. We'll see you next week for another edition of the CB McGrath Show.
The CB McGrath Show is brought to you by your Carolina Ford dealers, Papa John's, Adams Beverage, Harris Teeter, Coastal Beverage, and Reed's Jewelers.